All right, Marvel fans assemble. Get ready for the ultimate MCU showdown. We're embarking on an epic quest to determine the greatest film in the Infinity Saga. That's right, we're taking on all 23 films from Iron Man to Avengers Endgame in a bracket style tournament. This isn't just a simple ranking. It's a battle for cinematic glory. Each film will go head to head, facing intense scrutiny and passionate debate. Here is how we'll break it down. Round 1. We'll take the best scene, best line, and the best action with a personal touch. We'll dive deep into the heart of each film, dissecting its most unforgettable scenes, powerful lines, and adrenaline-pumping action scenes. We'll share our own personal connections, nostalgic memories, and what truly makes these moments stand out. Round 2. The final verdict. Our esteemed judge, Gemini, will weigh the evidence, consider the arguments, and declare a winner for each matchup. Prepare for shocking upsets, nail-biting decisions, and a journey through the most iconic moments of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Only one film will emerge victorious, claiming the title of the best of the Infinity Saga. This is the ultimate test. This is the Infinity Gauntlet of movie debates. Let the tournament begin! All right, Byrne, we are back at it again. It is the MCU tourney. So, last week, we had a great one. We had Avengers Infinity War versus the Incredible Hulk. Avengers Infinity War took that. Then we did Spider-Man Far From Home against the Black Panther. And the Black Panther took that one. And then we did Captain America Civil War versus Captain America First Avenger. And Captain America Civil War took that one. So they're all moving on to the second round. Pretty fun stuff. And then tonight, we got a great one for you. We're going to take the number 3 ranked Guardians of the Galaxy against Thor the Dark World, which is the number 22 ranked. And then the second matchup tonight, we're doing Doctor Strange versus Ant-Man, 2 origin films. So, I'd love to get into the first round of the first matchup, which is Guardians of the Galaxy versus Thor the Dark World. But Byrne, there's something we have to do first. Can you tell me what it is?
We got to do two things first. What are those rankings for that second movie matchup? Doctor Strange 11 versus Ant-Man 14.
Correct.
And the tale of the tape.
All right, let's get ready for the intergalactic showdown. Here's the tale of the tape for Guardians of the Galaxy versus Thor the Dark World. All right, here we go. Release date, Guardians of the Galaxy release date, August 1st, 2014. Thor the Dark World release date, November 8th, 2013. So we're looking at what, a year? A little over a year?
Pretty much, yeah. Let's call it a year.
All right, and then the runtime, Guardians of the Galaxy, 2 hours and 1 minute. Thor the Dark World, 1 hour and 52 minutes, so right around that 2-hour mark. Film budget, Guardians of the Galaxy film budget, we're looking at $232.3 million. Thor the Dark World, they're giving us an estimated 150 to 170 mil. Opening weekend box office gross. If you remember correctly, Guardians of the Galaxy, this was like, people are like, what's going to go on with this? What are we doing with this? How's this going to pan out?
Why are we
Opening
here?
weekend box office. Yeah, they were like, what are we doing here? We don't know. Chris Pratt, he was the guy at the time. He was just the guy from Parks and Rec.
Andy Dwyer. It was just Andy Dwyer.
He was Andy Dwyer, got all ripped up, right? So opening weekend box office gross, we're looking at $94.3 million for Guardians of the Galaxy. And then Thor the Dark World, opening weekend box office gross, $85.7 mil. I believe these were both the beginning of phase 2, right? In the Infinity Saga?
I don't want to say
I know
for
Guardians
sure,
was phase 2.
And yes, and Thor 2 as well was also phase 2. Yeah, you're right.
Okay, and then worldwide box office gross, we're looking for Thor the Dark World, we're looking at $644.6 million, which is pretty good. But Marvel, I mean, dude, Avengers had already come out. Marvel was rolling, right? Anything they put out was going to hit. And then worldwide box office gross for Guardians of the Galaxy, we're looking at $773.3 million. Dude, And then the directors, we got James Gunn, obviously for Guardians of the Galaxy, and then Alan Taylor for Thor: The Dark World. I'm telling you, James Gunn just nuts on chins with this. Everyone was like, dude, this guy, this movie, the music, the visuals, like everything about it was great, dude. Everyone in it crushed, right? Like, and the fun things, like I'm excited to get into it, but I don't want to kill too much. But Burn, that's the tail of the tape. So now it's time to move on to round one. Are you ready?
I am so ready for this one.
All right, here we go. Round one. Fight! All right, Burn, I believe it's my turn to go first. Isn't that right?
Lead us off, Matt.
Here we go. Alrighty, so, okay, let's delve into the realms of Asgard and the less loved corners of the MCU to discuss Thor: The Dark World. It's a bit tricky to pinpoint a universally agreed upon best scene in Thor: The Dark World, as opinions of this film vary. One of the most memorable scenes in Thor: The Dark World is undoubtedly the chaotic and humorous convergence of realms in London. The sheer absurdity of portals opening across the city, juxtaposed with the panicked reactions of everyday citizens, creates a unique and entertaining spectacle. Thor's frantic attempts to navigate the interdimensional mess, coupled with Jane's bewildered involvement, highlights the film's blend on a cosmic scale of human vulnerability. I'll tell you, that's a great one, right? And that might be for, I don't know, that might come back as best action, but dude, the scene when Loki betrays Thor, right? And like, it has like the pretend betrayal of throwing Thor. Like, I'll tell you, Hiddleston, like, this might not be a really great MCU film, but Hiddleston showed up and he came to play and he did an incredible job. He really sold it. There was a couple scenes with Hiddleston. I was like, man, this guy knows how to throw down. As far as the best line, often cited for its comedic delivery and unexpected emotional resonance, is Loki's wry declaration of, "Oh, brother." Delivered with a mix of exasperation and grudging affection during their final confrontation with Malakath. Uh, you know, and then as for the best action sequence, it's the aerial battle between Thor and Malekith's Dark Elf ships, particularly their pursuit through the winding narrow canyons in Svartalheim stands out. That's like, that part of
There's
whatever
a lot of worlds, and
yeah.
Swaddleheim is one of them. Yeah.
Yeah. The dynamic camera work, the rapid shifts in scale, and the sheer visual intensity of Thor's lightning against the dark alien architecture create a thrilling and visually stunning experience. But it's also important to acknowledge that Thor: The Dark World is often considered one of the weaker MCU entries. While it has its moments, it doesn't always reach the heights of other films in the franchise. Very true. There are some good things, but yeah, this one it is very much considered disappointing. They really leaned on the love scenes a lot with him and Jane, which people usually don't like in their action movies. I don't like to, because they didn't like. If you look at it, Thor 1, okay. Thor 2, really not great. Ragnarok, fucking incredible.
Incredible. Yep. Yep.
And then Thor, Thunder and Love, not so much. So Thor's are just they're battling to hit the middle card, but dude, Ragnarok's great, and they really needed because Thor needed to get stronger in powers. He really did, and that was a level up in Ragnarok. So that's my time. That's nuts on your chin. I literally talked about 4 other movies besides this one, so that's what we think about this. Burn, why don't you take it away, Daddy?
Just a really quick recap. Just my own personal opinion on Thor: Dark World. Uh, People don't like it. They started darkening Hemsworth eyebrows in this. Like the first one, he was like kind of an albino, and they're like, let's give
Yeah,
a little color to the eyebrows, and they're like, now we're
yeah,
going somewhere. Rene Russo's great in this.
so
Loki's
good,
great in this.
so good.
Thor works when they nail the villain. Thor
Yeah.
doesn't work when they don't nail the villain. And in this one, they didn't nail the villain. As a comic book
Mm,
guy, Malachi is an incredible villain. He could have been really cool. They got a great actor to play him, and they just didn't have the writing for it.
mm.
Now, on the other side of that, I'm representing the 3 seed Guardians of the Galaxy
Oh
Volume
yeah.
1.
This is the reason it's a 3.
You talk about what I just said of not nailing the villain. Guardians of the Galaxy, Literally, as a comic book guy, I saw this movie was coming out, and I was like, man, Marvel is really flexing their shit right now. Like, everyone knows Iron Man, Thor, the Incredible
Yeah.
Hulk, Captain
Yeah.
America, but they're going to do a Guardians movie. I've been reading comics my whole life, and I'm kind of familiar with the Guardians. They've been okay. They've never been awesome. I was not prepared for the
No
film
one
I
was.
saw when
No
I
one was.
walked in there and walked out of it. I thought Marvel was flexing their nuts and was about to get a little over their skis, and they were 7 movies in and about to fall apart.
Nope.
Not even close. Guardians of the Galaxy is one of the greatest ragtag assembled crews in science fiction or adventure history.
Yeah.
Uh, Here's what's so weird about it. We talked about James Gunn, who's now going to run the entire DC universe. He made 3 incredible Guardians films. We're just going to talk about the first one. The best scene in this movie is the opener. It is the Chris Pratt long red leather jacket to Redbone's come and get your love, looking for some kind of mystical orb that ends up being the Power Stone, which is going to be the first Infinity Stone seen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's going to fuel everything that comes after that. But Chris Pratt's weird, dancy jump around set the tone for something that I was not expecting. The best action sequence in this film is when we get to meet all the players. It's when they're on Xandar. It's when Chris Pratt's Star Lord is trying to sell the stone. It's when Gamora is hanging out outside the building trying to steal it from him. And it's when Rocket and Groot are calling Stanley a prevert and waiting to do their bounty hunter shit. We learn everything we need to know about 4 of the 5 main characters of this film in one 6-minute action sequence that's incredible. And then we get to the best line of this film, which I stand by maybe one of the best lines in the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe. And that is after the frustration, the ragtag group coming together, everybody being involved in it for different reasons, everybody having different impulses to finish this. We are Groot.
Oh,
If you didn't drop a tiny little tear during We Are Groot, then I don't know if you have a heart in you, buddy. I don't know
the
what to tell
dance,
you.
the dance battle to save the universe. It was the best.
The dance battle to save the universe didn't make any of my categories. That's how goddamn good Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 is. I rest my case.
Oh man, dude, it is so great. Plus, dude, the cast like that they put together, Bradley Cooper as Rocket, absolutely incredible, so good, dude. And then even like Vin Diesel as Groot was just like it was the best, you know. And then I mean, it was all great, you know.
We are Groot
Yeah,
hits. And it's
yeah.
because Vin Diesel's that good. And also, it's when actually, and this is probably a shout out to you and your great love of the WWE. It's when Dave Batista let everyone know I'm for real here, guys.
Yeah,
I
for
am
real.
for real.
Yep.
I'm an actor. I'm good. I'm funny. I'm big. I'm smart.
Yeah.
I'm dumb. But I'm going to be here for a while.
And apparently he has a monster cock.
I hope so. He deserves it.
Yeah, it's well known in the wrestling. It's like a big, huge deal that he's like, yeah.
The character he plays is named Drax the Destroyer.
No, he's
Interpret
destroying.
that however you want.
Yeah, he's destroying. No, he's dude. Plus, dude, look at like what he got off of this movie.
He got to be a Bond villain. He got to do that
Yeah,
sweet Robert Rodriguez like zombie Vegas movie. Like
yeah, which was awesome.
which was awesome. Batista's no
Yeah,
joke, man. But he showed up there to be a musclehead
yeah,
and proved
and
to
he's
be
rocked
way
it,
more
and
than
he's
that.
absolutely rocked it. Yeah.
Way more
So
than that.
okay, so Burn, that's enough for round one. Let's head on to round two. Round two, fight. All right, Burn. Round two, we're going to ask our overlord Gemini to give us the skinny on what movie is moving on to the second round. Here we go. All right. So this is what it says. It said, hello, Gemini. Can you please tell us what movie is better, Guardians of the Galaxy or Thor the Dark World? This is what they said. They said, when comparing Guardians of the Galaxy and Thor the Dark World, it's important to acknowledge that there are very different films with distinct tones and styles. And here's a breakdown. They said Guardians of the Galaxy. This film is widely praised for its fresh and unique take on the superhero genre. It's known for its vibrant visuals, fantastic soundtrack, and strong character dynamics. It successfully blended humor, action, and heart, creating a very enjoyable cinematic experience. It was a big surprise hit that really expanded the MCU cosmic side. Very much so. And then Thor the Dark World says this film is often considered one of the weaker entries in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. While it has its moments, it's generally criticized for its less engaging plot and less memorable villain. It does have some good action scenes and does further the overarching MCU story, but is not considered a top tier MCU film. In general, Guardians of the Galaxy is a much more highly rated by critics and audiences alike. It's brought a very fresh and fun feel to the MCU that was very welcome. So, in Gemini's opinion, Guardians of the Galaxy is the better film, and it's moving on to round number 2. Burn. Good stuff so far in the first match. A little closer than I thought it would be, but we knew all along Guardians is moving on, and it's a round 2 for sure. We'll see who it gets in round 2, but I'm excited and happy that it's moved on. But Burn, are you ready to move on to our second and final matchup of the night?
Let me say one thing about this first matchup.
Yeah, go ahead.
As a lifelong comic book snob, right? If you had told me they were getting Christopher Ecclesian to play Malachi versus whatever the hell the Guardians of the Galaxy were going to do, I would have said Thor. The Thor movie will be better. This just shows the creativity and the versatility of this Marvel Cinematic Universe early on in their realm.
Yeah.
The source material was there for Thor. It was not there for Guardians. And Guardians runs away with this one. So you never know. You never know.
Yeah.
The movie's
Guardians
a movie.
shocked the world. No one thought Guardians was going to be nuts on the chins like they were. No one. And they shocked the world. And I love it.
For sure.
All right, Burn. Well, that's good. So let's keep it moving on to the next battle. The next matchup we have, it's a matchup of origins. We're getting Doctor Strange, the number 11 seed, versus the number 14 seed, Ant-Man. And I would love nothing more than to get into round 1. But, before we get into round 1, there's something we have to do.
What could it possibly... The tale of the tape!
You got it. All right. So we're asking for a comparison of two very different Marvel hero films. Let's break it down. The tale of the tape for Doctor Strange and Ant-Man. Here we go. So, Doctor Strange, release date November 4th, 2016. Ant-Man, release date July 17th, 2015. So same thing, kind of around a year,
Yep.
Runtime. Doctor Strange, 1 hour, 55 minutes. Ant-Man, 1 hour, 57 minutes. Is there a formula here? I think so.
They're not playing.
Film budget. We're looking at, for Doctor Strange, we're looking at 165 to 236.5 million estimated. I mean, you could narrow the estimation a little bit.
Yeah, that's a fair gap right there.
Yeah.
Let's call it 2.
Ant-Man, they're looking at 130 million.
Wow.
No estimate. Yep. Opening weekend box office gross, Doctor Strange 85.1 million, Ant-Man 57.2 million. And then worldwide box office gross, Ant-Man worldwide box office gross, we're looking at 519.3 million. And then worldwide box office gross for Doctor Strange, we're looking at 677.8 million. These are both phase 2ers, right? So
both origins. When
both
Marvel's
origins, both phase 2ers lead into Infinity War. Yeah.
Need new dudes.
Yep, new dudes. Got a bunch of new dudes. We meet Ant-Man. Well, Ant-Man gets in Civil War, but Doctor Strange doesn't get in with the rest of the gang till Infinity War. Right?
Yeah. No, I believe the Ant-Man standalone came before his appearance. I think only Spider-Man was introduced in Civil War.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. right?
Yeah.
So then directors for Doctor Strange, we got Scott Dickerson or Derrickson, sorry, Scott Derrickson, and then for Ant-Man we got Peyton Reed. So Burn, that is the tail of the tape for Doctor Strange versus Ant-Man.
Pretty tight.
Yep, pretty close, pretty close. So no wonder the ranks are close together. You can never tell out. You can never tell with these. You know, your 512s, your 1114s. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? You
this
can
is
never
when the
tell.
rubber meets the road, usually
Yeah,
with these guys.
big time. So, but Burn, that's the tail of the tape. Are you ready to move on to round one?
Let's do it.
Round one, fight! All right, Burn, I went first last time, so go ahead, get your nuts out and put them on some chins.
Dr. Stephen Strange, played by Benjamin Cumberbatch, is a one of Marvel's most perfect casting decisions.
Benedict?
Benedict Cumberbatch. Benedict Cumberbatch. I hope this is. I really hope that's his film name. I hope his name is like Jerry Lawler. You know what I mean,
Oh,
or
that'd be
something like
great.
that.
Yeah, Ron Smith.
But really, as a comic guy, one of the most inspired casting choices they've ever
Agreed.
made. He has
Pretty
the
good.
absolute perfect balance between cocky asshole and sad Brit, and that's
Yeah,
really what you need for Doctor Strange.
true.
We get an incredible origin story here of a surgeon who loses the use of his hands. He finds no purpose in his life. He goes to Kamir-Taj. He starts learning mystical arts and
Yep.
realizes that what made him a savior was not ever his hands, but what lives inside of him. I think the best line in this entire movie, and it's a little bit of a dialogue, so you got to give me a second, comes when he is first facing the Kamir-Taj exile Calcius, played by the incredible Mads Mikkelsen. I mean, just
Oh, so
an
good.
absolute baller in everything he does. They are bending time and space. They are folding cities upon one another. And Mads says, "How long have you been at Kamir-Taj, mister?" Cumberbatch says, "Doctor." Calcius says, "Mr. Doctor?" Cumberbatch says, "It's strange." Calcius says, "Maybe. Who am I to judge?" There's not a whole lot of humor in this movie, despite what Cumberbatch tries to do with it. I think that's the funniest line of the entire movie, because to be fair, a lot of these characters were named in the 1950s. Doctor Strange. I mean, you call yourself Doctor Strange. It's a weird thing to say, right? Trust me, I'm Doctor Strange. The greatest action sequence in that movie is when Kelsey tries to break back in, when they have to run around the entire Kamir-Taj sacred room. We're finding cloaks, we're finding swords, we're kicking guys to Alaska, Antarctica. It's one of the more psychedelic and interesting, like visually interesting things Marvel has attempted to do. And I really, really gave them a lot of credit for that point at that point in the film, because it has to be weird, it has to look different, it has to be quote unquote strange. The best scene in the movie is the very last scene, where Dr. Stephen Strange traps Dormammu, the multi-dimensional world destroyer, into a time loop, and walks up to him and says, "I'm here to bargain, Dormammu." And we watch him get killed like 75 times in a row until he eventually beats this incredible cosmic entity down with this time of being like, "You're not going to beat me. We're just going to stand here, do this forever, and get bored." I really like Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange is a really important character going forward. I think Cumberbatch plays him perfectly throughout the entire rest of this MCU Infinity Saga. Doctor Strange origin movie is probably a 7 out of 10 for a character who, for me, has always been a 5 out of 10. And that's a real feather in the cap of Marvel. That's all I got.
Yep. Yeah, I would agree with that, Daddy. I would agree with that. Well, that's good, Burn, but let me put some nuts on chins here. So, let's break down some of the most memorable moments from Ant-Man. Here we go. Best
Oh,
scene. This is what we got. In Ant-Man, the best scene is arguably the climactic battle inside the briefcase, where Scott Lang and Darren Cross, both miniaturized, engage in a frantic high-stakes fight amidst everyday objects. This sudden shift in scales, the use of household items as weapons, and the sheer inventiveness of the action created a uniquely and entertaining and visually engaging sequence. It perfectly encapsulates the film's blend of superhero action and comedic heist elements, right? I do love that they really leaned on like the kid side, I guess you would say, where, they're like, look, we get it. This guy turned small, so we're going to use that in our favor, right? Best line. Best line, often quoted for its deadpan delivery and self-aware humor, is Luis's extended rambling storytelling, culminating in the, and then he's like, blah, right, which perfectly captures the film quirky comedic tone. I'll tell you, Michael Pena, he's just the best, dude. He
that
is the best.
that rose rant at the end is just as good. It is
It's so
just as
good.
good.
Dude, he's great in everything he is. I would love for him to get, do something where he's, Falcon Winter Soldier. You know what I mean? Like, give
This
that guy something.
the supporting cast in Ant Man is incredible,
Oh, dude, Evangeline Lilly making a comeback,
and
daddy.
she's perfect because Wasp
Oh,
has to be kind of a C.
yeah,
Michael Douglas rules,
the
and then you
best.
have you
The best.
have the
You just know that guy was crushing Poos. Pym? What, Harold Pym? What was his name?
Hank
Right?
Pym. Hank
Hank
Pym.
Pym. Hank Pym crushes Poos, and everybody knows it. He's a Poos crusher. Hank Pym. Love
Do you
him.
know that Michael Douglas in real life, the actor, at one point had throat cancer that he, overcame
Yeah.
and blamed it on cunnilingus. He was like,
Damn right he
"Sorry,
did.
I just been in
Sorry,
there. I just been in there too much over the
he
last
said
four
I did
years.
too much muff diving,
It's been
baby.
too much. That's where I am. That's where I live. That's what I do."
He's like, sorry, I spend most of my time dining at the taco stand.
His wife is Catherine Zeta-Jones. So
Catherine Zeta Jones.
so
Yeah.
I say your time is well spent,
Sleeper,
Mr.
sleeper
Douglas.
rocket. Sleeper
Unbelievable,
rocket. Zeta.
unbelievable sleeper rocket.
Sleeper rocket, Catherine Zeta. But either way, so let's keep it moving. And then as far as the best action sequence, the final fight between Ant-Man and Yellow Jacket on the giant Thomas the Tank Engine toy is a standout. The combination of miniaturized combat and the large-scale destruction of the toy train, along with the desperate stakes of the situation, make it a thrilling and memorable action scene. The visual effects and the imaginative use of the shrinking growing technology are showcased brilliantly, making the fight both exciting and hilarious. Ant-Man effectively blends superhero action with the heist elements and humor, and its best scenes, lines, and fights often reflect this blend. So there you go. That's nuts on your chin, and that's round one. Burn, you ready to move on to round two?
Again, let me just say something really quick here too.
Well, there you go.
Well,
Nuts.
yeah, take your nuts and put them back on your chin. Uh, Ant-Man and Doctor Strange, while these movies may have seemed, a little bit like ambitious for Marvel at the time, think about what we're talking about. Endgame gets the bye in this tournament.
Yeah.
Endgame is not
Yeah.
possible without Doctor Strange and Ant-Man. These two characters end up becoming incredibly important in this
Yes.
saga for what they do in their own individual films, and what they do in their collaborative films. So this is an 11-14 matchup, but both of these characters are completely integral to getting us to the
Yeah.
end of the line for Endgame to make
It's
sense.
it's funny that like Strange puts us at the end of Infinity War. Like he gets it, like he takes us out, because he gives up the time stone.
One,
Spoiler. And
the
then
one.
one dude, so like when you see Stark look at him and he just does this, you're just like, this is fucking movies, babe.
Yeah,
This is fucking cinema.
yeah.
Right? And
yeah.
then but when Ant
Endgame
Man
can't
Endgame
happen
was Ant
without
Man.
Ant-Man.
Endgame was Ant Man.
Can't
That's
happen
right.
without Ant-Man.
Can't happen. I loved it. So, all right. But, Burn, that's round one in this matchup. Are you ready to move on to round two?
I I can't wait. I'm excited.
Here we go. Round two. Fight! All right, Ben Needy, here we go. We're going to get the final verdict from our overlord, Gemini. So here we go. I asked Gemini, I said, can you please tell me what movie is better, Doctor Strange or Ant-Man? And here's what they said. They said, this is a fun one. Both Doctor Strange and Ant-Man are solid entries in the MCU, but they offer distinct flavors. If I had to choose, and Gemini says, if they have to choose which movie is better overall, they'd probably lean slightly towards Doctor Strange. And here's why. Visual spectacle. Doctor Strange is visually stunning. The way it depicts the mystic arts, alternate dimensions, and the bending of time is truly captivating. It's a film that pushes the boundaries of visual effects in a way that Ant-Man, while creative, doesn't quite match. Then mythology and world building. Doctor Strange opens up a whole new realm of the MCU, introducing magic, mysticism, and the multiverse. This adds a layer of depth and expands the possibilities of the universe in a way that Ant-Man, while enjoyable, doesn't quite do to the same extent. And then character arc. While both films feature compelling characters, Doctor Strange's journey from arrogant surgeon to humble sorcerer is arguably a bit more dramatic and transformative. However, Ant-Man does have its own strengths. Humor and heart. Ant-Man is very funny and a charming film. Its heist movie elements and the dynamic between Scott Lang and his crew provide a lot of entertainment. Originality. Ant-Man brings a unique perspective to the superhero genre with its focus on size-changing powers and smaller scale action. Ultimately, both films are enjoyable and well made, but for its visual spectacle, expansion of the MCU's mythology, and compelling character arc, we're giving it to Doctor Strange. And Doctor Strange
Wow.
moves on to the second round, Daddy.
I'll
Woo!
tell you
It
what.
ain't getting. If Doctor Strange gets past the second round, I'll shit in my hat and eat it.
I'll tell you what. I was pretty confident representing Guardians of the Galaxy that was going to get through.
I
And
thought
maybe it's
Ant Man was going to take this
personal
one too.
bias. I
Too.
thought Ant Man was going to sneak this one. I really
Yep.
did.
Same. Same. So that's the matchups for tonight. We're cranking through round one of the MCU tournament. So that was so. Moving on to round two, we got tonight. We have Guardians of the Galaxy and Doctor Strange. So far in round two, we have Avengers: Infinity War, Avengers: Endgame, Captain America: Civil War, Black Panther, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Doctor Strange. Not a bad lineup for fucking
No,
round two, Daddy.
not we're halfway through. Not too shabby.
Yeah, we
Not
still got
too
a couple
shabby.
left. So next week we got Iron Man versus Captain Marvel, and then we're gonna do Spider-Man: Homecoming versus Ant-Man and the Wasp. So couple of good battles here, couple of good matchups. The original Iron Man, dude, the matchups in round two are gonna be fucking wild, Daddy.
They're gonna be
They're gonna
insane.
be fucking wild. So, all right, well, that's what we got for next week. The number 4 seed Iron Man versus number 21 seed Captain Marvel. And then we have the number 10 seed Spider Man Homecoming versus Ant Man and the Wasp. But that's it for tonight. Burn, what do you got before we get the get it here? Hey!
Listen, this is why you play the games,
Why you play the
right? This is
games?
why you play the games.
Why you play the games?
I know that the favorites won tonight,
Right.
but I
That
really thought
happens.
that happens. But
Yeah.
on paper, I might have stuck Ant Man right in there. I don't
I
disagree
really
with.
did too.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't disagree with Gemini's description because Doctor Strange visually was one of the most
Very
impressive
much so.
movies
Yeah.
Marvel has done,
They really inception the shit out of it.
and it kind of had to be for that
Yeah.
character to work. And since it did, it worked, and that character has been integral going forward.
Very
Uh,
much so.
Stay tuned, guys. Stay tuned because
I'll tell you that. I'll tell you though.
it's
If
gonna get messy real soon.
Yeah, I'll tell you this though, right? These movies needed to hit, right, in order for Infinity War and Endgame to really
And they
mean
both did.
something.
They both
And they
did.
both did. They both did their jobs. So I know Ant Man kind of, isn't moving on, which it is what it is. But maybe we'll get, I mean, I don't know. Maybe we can consider throwing it into because we will have a consolation round that will take a lucky winner somewhere. Maybe we'll see. Maybe we could find a lucky
You'll never
little.
Hey
you
guys,
know.
we make up the fucking rules as we go. So you never
Yeah,
know. You never
you
know
never
what's gonna
know.
happen. You never
You
know what's
never
gonna happen.
know. You never know. So, all right, Bern. Well, speaking of never knowing, this has been another episode of the Working Perspectives Podcast presents Ask AI. I'm Matt Lavelle, and you're Bern Podcasty. And in case anybody's wondering, they can find all our stuff and all our content on all podcast platforms and YouTube at Working Perspectives Podcast. He also on Instagram at Working Perspectives Podcast. And join us on Twitter and TikTok at Working P Pod. And if you'd like to be a guest on the show, please email us at workperspectives@gmail.com, and please like and subscribe, and we'll keep bringing you this incredible content. Thanks you guys so much for listening. Let us know who you think should be moving on in the comments, and other than that, we'll plant you now and we'll dig you later. Thanks. See you.